And also just one other note on the equanimity. In the jhanas, you're all familiar with jhana? Everybody familiar with jhana? Jhana is absorption. These are certain meditative states that get stronger and stronger and stronger. There are 4 jhanas, 4 basic jhanas. And in the first jhana, we have thought, vitaka, vichara. This is thought and supported thought on a certain meditation subject. But we move on to the second jhana, and these 2 fall away. There is no more thought and supported thought. In the third jhana, you have happiness and one-pointedness of mind. And on the 4th jhana, the happiness falls away and equanimity takes its place. If you do not have equanimity, then you are in danger of creating another type of another type of attachment, or you can become attached to meditation as well. So that's why I'm saying, some things they will go up to a certain point and then they fall away. Go up to a certain point and fall away. These meditations can also, people can attain jhana, but jhana can fall away. Okay? So we have to. This is a Rubik cube type of situation. We have to be very careful not to create new attachments, new things that will again come back and cause more suffering, more dukkha for us. But it's interesting one other note on the Brahma Vihara, and in English translation. Ancient India, they had Brahmanism, which later sort of morphed into Hinduism, because in Brahmanism they did not have these myriad of gods. This is a later addition. The original teaching was there's one creator God, this is Brahma, everything, all people spring forth from Brahma, and so on. My concern is with the translation, because this is a different society, different background. You have various religions, Judaism, Christianity. So many people, we have to be very precise with our words and our translations. So many people who have belief in God, they will do a good deed, but only in a certain stance, or in a certain way. If such and such a person is an enemy of God, we will not spread metta to them, we will not spread karuna, not spread these other types of things. But this does not figure into play in the Buddhist idea. Whether someone is positive or negative to us, even if they claim to be our worst enemy, we spread metta to them, we spread karuna to them. Unbiased, that's why it's called unconditional. So may all beings be happy, may all beings be free. Many years ago, I told you this story before, in 1981 or 82, many foreign nationals were going to Burma to practice meditation. And you had to get a certain type, Burma is a socialist government. They're very suspicious of foreigners, but they were allowing people to come in to practice meditation. But you had to have a certain type of visa. Meditator's visa, it's called. So many Americans were going, and some of them would take ordination, monks and nuns, and they would take a certain course, like a Mahasi course, or so on. So sometimes these people, their course would have ended, but they still have some remaining time on their visa. So they would go off traveling in the country. So whenever the Burmese officials learned of it, they said, our country is overtaken by spies. Now there are many spies in the country dressed like monks and nuns. So the Burmese government came out with a rule that everyone must leave within 48 hours. Get out. Everybody's a spy, why not? Get out. So at that time, there was a soon-to-be acquaintance of mine from Nepal, and he was in a monastery in Rangoon. Unfortunately, he had to disrobe because the government said he must leave. He did not want to go back to Nepal as a monk, so he disrobed. And it was lucky for me because he turned out to be my next door neighbor. He was living in the same building I was. I had not been introduced to him. And we have these big, tall ceilings, colonial type buildings, and the doors and windows were all open. And we had a common veranda, and I was walking in front of his room, and he was standing in the room, and my eye just caught him like that. And there was something just magnetic almost about him. And it was tangible, you could feel it. And later we became good friends, and he took me on a pilgrimage to the holy places in India and in Nepal. And he told me about his practice in Burma. He had intensive metta practice. This is just nothing but spreading these feelings of friendship towards all beings. And he told me about some amazing things that had happened while doing that practice. But what I thought was most amazing was I did not know this person, but there's something magnetic to him. It's almost like a moth to the flame. This is amazing. Unfortunately, after he went back to Nepal, he re-entered the lay life, mainstream. And some years later, he came back to me again. He said, please take me to a monastery in the forest. I feel my metta is ebbing away. Now anger comes quickly to me. I said, okay, we go to the forest. So now he has other problems. Now he has fear now. I was trying to get him to, in the forest temple we don't have electricity or anything, it's just a building and no running water. But there is the kuti, the building, and there is the walking meditation path. So our time is spent between sitting in the kuti and walking meditation. I said, come, and there are many wild animals in the forest. So he was afraid of the wild animals. No. So I kept trying to get him, come outside. You have your candle, what else did you want? So he was arguing with himself. He finally, after several days, he came out to walk on the path in the dark. And he was sitting on the path, and he was arguing with himself. There's nothing to be afraid of. What am I afraid of? All of a sudden, these two squirrels were chasing each other around, and they went right between his legs and up another tree. So that was the end of his practice on the path. So this story just shows you, and I'm sure you can relate also, how these things in our life, they are of this nature. They get a grip on us. And this Dhamma we must practice for our own sake, for our own development. But it's like a tree, this practice of meditation. We need to water our tree. We need to take care of our tree. We can't just sit and then a few weeks later do it one more time and this and that. And if you practice this meditation, any of these meditations, it will become personal experience for you. And you will see the efficacy of practicing the Dhamma.